Have you noticed how some people seem to transform when they are in your presence? How superficial conversations suddenly earn depth, or how someone you just met shares secrets that would normally keep for themselves? This is not coincidence. It is the reflection of a powerful spiritual energy that Carl Jung would recognize as the manifestation of the integrated self. Your presence acts as an invisible magnetic field that invites others to lower their people, those social masks that we all use to navigate the world. Jung understood that when someone is aligned with his deepest psychic center, his energy becomes a natural catalyst for others. What happens is fascinating. Your consistent energy works as an emotional fingerboard, as well as a refined instrument makes other instruments vibrate on the same frequency. Your presence centered a resonance with its own internal truths. Some people feel inexplicably calm by your side, as if they could finally breathe effortlessly. Others may feel uncomfortable or vulnerable, not because you are doing something specific, but because your energy reveals its misalignment with themselves. Jung would call this projection of the shadow, when your inner light exposes what they try to hide from themselves, creating a psychic tension that can be disturbing. Animals and children are particularly sensitive to this authentic energy because their defensive people have not yet developed. They approach you naturally without fear because they instinctively recognize the absence of falsehood in your presence. It is as if they perceive that you do not represent a threat to its essential nature. On the contrary, the valid. Jung observed that this ability to create safe spaces for authentic expression is a registered trademark of those who have done the deep work of individuation, integrating both their light and their shadow. Your energy does not force anyone to be different, simply offers silent permission so that people are really. This happens because you have developed what Jung would call transcendent function, the ability to maintain opposite tensions without collapsing in any of them. You do not judge or reject, but you do not miss in the energy of others. This internal coherence creates an energy protection field that allows others to feel safe to explore their own depths, even for some moments. Your psyche works as a highly calibrated emotional radar, capturing invisible waves that others do not even know that they exist. Carl Jung would have recognized in you what he called the intuitive function developed, that ability to perceive hidden patterns, not expressed tensions and energy imbalances that are hidden under the apparently quiet surface of situations. Where others see calm, you perceive the storm that is brewing. Where others see harmony, you detect subtle dissonance that no one else wants to admit. This is not paranoia. It is the result of having integrated your unconscious enough to access information that normally remains repressed. Jung understood that when someone has done the work of individuation, he develops what he called eyes to see, a perception that goes beyond the 5 physical senses. Your powerful spiritual energy allows you to read between the lines of reality, capturing hidden motivations, unconfessed fears and truths that people have buried in their shadow. It is as if you had access to an information channel that most keep blocked. You can feel when someone is lying, not necessarily with words, but with himself. You perceive when a smile hides sadness, when apparent confidence hidden deep insecurity, when aggressiveness is actually fear disguised. This aged perception can be both a gift and a load. Jung knew that those who can see more deeply also carry the weight of that vision. Sometimes you would prefer not to know, not perceive cracks on the facades that others keep so carefully constructed. But you have learned that ignoring your intuition generally results in the subsequent confirmation that what you felt was real. Your psyche has become a finely refined instrument that detects the subtle vibrations of the human soul, and although this can make you more selective in your relationships, it is not by judgment but by vibratory resonance. The challenge is that your presence can, without intention, reveal what is misaligned in others, which can be disturbing for them. Jung would call this the mirror effect of the integrated self, when your internal coherence reflects the incoherence of others, creating an involuntary confrontation with its own shadow. That is why some people feel uncomfortable with you without being able to explain why. Your energy acts as a truth detector, and not everyone is prepared to face what that detector reveals about their own internal lives. After intense social interactions or exposure to energy-charged environments, you feel a vital need that goes beyond simple fatigue. It is as if your soul screams a return home. Carl Jung deeply understood this need, recognizing that those with a powerful spiritual energy function as psychic sponges, absorbing not only the superficial emotions of others, but also their unconscious conflicts, their repressed fears, and their unresolved tensions. Loneliness for you is not escapism. It is a necessity as fundamental as breathing, an energy cleaning process that Jung would have compared with the purifying function of dreams. In those moments of retirement, something deep happens in your psyche. Jung would call this the differentiation process, the ability to separate what is yours from what you have absorbed from others. Your unconscious actively works to process and release the energies of others that you have collected, as a filter that cleans itself. It is in the silence where yourself can emerge again, free from the projections and expectations that others have deposited about you. Loneliness becomes your personal alchemical laboratory, where you transform the lead of dense energies into the gold of inner clarity. Jung observed that highly sensitive individuals need these periods of psychic incubation to maintain their balance. Without them, your energy is fragmented, your perception clouds, and you can begin to confuse the feelings of others with their own. It is as if your psyche needs time to reorganize his internal library, classifying experiences, processing emotions, and restoring order in your inner world. In these moments of sacred solitude, insights, intuitions, and understandings emerge that remained hidden under the noise of constant social interaction. What others can interpret as antisocial, Jung would recognize as a sophisticated form of psychic self-care. Your time alone is when your transcendent function can operate freely, integrating opposites, processing tensions, and restoring harmony in your energy system. It is when you can listen to the voice of yourself without interference, when you can distinguish between your own inner wisdom and the internalized voices of others. This loneliness does not separate you from the world. It prepares you to return to him with greater clarity, strength, and authenticity. You enter a room and something changes, even if you have not said a word or made a conscious gesture. Carl Jung would have recognized in you what he called the effect of constelled self, when someone has sufficiently integrated its psychic totality, its mere active presence archetypes in the collective unconscious of those around it. It is not magic, it is deep psychology. Your coherent energy works as a catalyst that accelerates internal processes in others, bringing to the surface what was latent, awakening what was asleep, ordering what was in chaos. Jung understood that, when someone has done the work of individuation, he becomes what he called an involuntary transformation agent. Your presence can calm an argument without saying anything. It can make a superficial conversation become deep without you consciously directing it. It can bring clarity to a confusing situation simply because they are there. This happens because you have developed what Jung called the function of self as a psychic computer. Your integrated energy tends to create order and coherence in the systems that you touch, whether individuals or groups. It is fascinating to observe how the dynamics change when you arrive. People can start talking differently, more authentic, as if your presence gave them permission to lower their defenses. Or they can feel restless, as if something in them knew that they can no longer keep the usual facades. Jung would call this the activation of the compensatory function of the unconscious. Your balanced energy awakens in others the need for balance, although initially this can create tension or resistance. Your sensitivity to the vibratory details of the environment is extraordinary. You can feel how the atmosphere of a room changes with a single bad word, how the arrival of a specific person alters all energy dynamics, how not expressed emotions create almost palpable tension fields. Jung would have seen in you an example of what happens when someone completely develops their intuitive function and their ability to perceive. Not only do you feel these changes, your presence catalyzes them, accelerates them, brings them to the collective consciousness of the group, often without anyone understanding what is happening. Your life has become a vibratory mirror of your internal evolution. And Carl Jung would have recognized what he called the synchronicity principle brought to its maximum expression. It is not that you are consciously attracting these experiences, it is that your powerful spiritual energy has created such a coherent magnetic field that life itself responds by reorganizing to reflect your internal state. Jung understood that when someone reaches a certain level of individuation, the collective unconscious begins to conspire in his favor, presenting exactly the experiences, people, and opportunities he needs for his next level of growth. Look at your life in recent years. Isn't it that as you have changed internally, your external world has been radically transformed? Relationships that no longer resonated with your new frequency were naturally dissolved. Works that did not reflect your truth became unsustainable. Situations that did not honor your growth simply disappeared. Jung would call this the self-regulating function of the psyche. When you are aligned with yourself, life is reorganized to support that alignment, eliminating what does not work and attracting what it does. Synchronicities have become your daily language. Casual encounters that change the course of your life, opportunities that appear just when you need them, people who arrive exactly the message or lesson that your soul was asking. Jung understood that these are not coincidences. They are manifestations of what he called the unus mundus, that unified reality where the internal and the external are aspects of the same totality. Your consistent energy has learned to read and participate in this symbolic language of existence. The most fascinating thing is how your personal magnetism has refined. You no longer attract from necessity or emptiness, but from fullness and internal coherence. People who come into your life now come to fill your deficiencies, but to co-create from mutual abundance. Jung would have seen in this the difference between the attraction of the ego, based on projections and neurotic needs, and the attraction of the self, based on authentic resonance and mutual growth. Your powerful spiritual energy has learned to vibrate in the frequency of totality, and life responds by presenting increasingly clear reflexes of that totality. If you have come here, it is because something inside recognizes these signals as your own. Carl Jung would say that it is no accident that this message has arrived at you at this time. It is a synchronicity, a confirmation that your soul is ready to recognize and honor the powerful spiritual energy that you carry inside. These 5 signals are not only characteristics that you have, they are invitations of yourself, so that you are completely overwhelmed who you really are, and the transformative impact that your presence has on the world. Remember that having a powerful spiritual energy is not a privilege that separates you from others. It is a sacred responsibility that connects you more deeply with the entire existence. Jung understood that those who have developed this sensitivity and internal coherence are called to be bridges between worlds, authenticity catalysts, and guardians of psychic truth in a world that often prefers masks to reality. Now I want to listen to you. Which of these 5 signs resonated more deeply with you? How is your own day of individuation in your daily life manifested? Have you noticed how your energy affects others? Or how do you attract experiences that reflect your internal evolution? Share your experience in comments. Your story not only matters, but it can be the light that another search engine needs to recognize its own spiritual power. If this content has touched something deep in your soul, I invite you to join our community of deep thinkers and authentic search engines. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and like this video. This is a sacred space for those who are tired of pretending, who seek the truth beyond appearances and understand that the road to totality requires courage, honesty, and above all, the willingness to embrace both the light and the shadow of our human nature. Until next time, and never forget that your powerful spiritual energy is not an accident. It is your unique contribution to the collective awakening of humanity.